I'm Kristin.
And I'm Maddie.
We're sisters and heavy readers.
Join us every single week to talk stories, interview authors, and collab with fellow book nerds.
Welcome to the Kristin Mad Show.
Welcome back to the show, you guys. Today we have 17 historic fiction recs for you, and we are going to take a walk through history from like 70 AD to 1960. We have lots of recs to run the gamut. Hopefully, you'll find at least one book in this stack that you want to read, add to your TBR, and we love all of them. I don't think there's a single book in this stack that we rated less than 4 stars.
Oh, going over this list just reminded me how much I love this genre. But before we move into the books, no matter where you are listening or watching this podcast, make sure that you are following us. Make sure you are hearting everything. Make sure you're leaving a comment and make sure you're subscribed because we love creating this content for us. And it's really the wind beneath our wings and helps us be able to give you more awesome content like this when we're being supported in that way. So let's jump into the recs. I do think that we need to start like back in the day. Like I love the idea of us like chucking through the timeline. So let's go back to the
chronological.
Furthest,
Let's go chronological
historic fiction.
Okay. So we're going to start in 74 AD, okay, in ancient Pompeii.
Ooh.
And this rec is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, and it blew my mind. I love this trilogy so much. It's such a strong book one. I can't wait to read more from Elodie Harper. She just released Boudica, which I absolutely need to read immediately.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So The Wolf Den is about the main character who is a slave in a brothel in ancient Pompeii pre-volcanic eruption.
Pre-volcanic eruption.
Yeah, picture like Roman culture
Okay.
and when Rome was kind of at its height. And she's not living the happiest of lives.
Well, that checks out.
But the story takes her through found family, love, heartbreak, and really finding her liberation and her voice on her own in a world where she should be powerless, but she's not. And she uses everything to her advantage, and it's so much scheming and brilliance on her part, so much clever maneuvering of people and understanding how to work people. And she finds true relationship, true connection, true belonging, and she forges her own liberation. And it's such an inspiring, gripping, emotional story. So well done. Highly recommend.
And this is a trilogy.
Correct. The second book has Doerr in the title.
Okay.
And then the third book is The Temple Fortuna.
Okay.
But all three were great. I like literally read them in succession. So phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so 500 AD, we have The Lost Queen. This is by Signe Pike.
Yeah, we're fast forwarding just a little bit from ancient Pompeii, 400 years, and we're going to a very different part of the world. But this is up in Scotland, and this is pre-Arthurian just a bit, but this kind of covers potentially the legend of Merlin. So the man who would eventually advise and potentially be a man of the magic arts for Arthur. He and his twin sister are the main characters of this series, and it covers them from their childhood to their adulthood, and all during their life is this crazy political strife between the lesser kings who are of pagan religion with the conquering kings who are Christians. And so there's all of this tension, and it's both political and religious. And it's so beautiful. It's romantic. It has great character connections. It was so gripping, and it's very, very historically researched. Signe Pike has researched all of these areas. She's researched the Arthurian legend. She's researched Merlin and Langorith. Merlin in this story is not called he's called Lawhon, but she's researched all of the legend and the lore, and these are the historic figures they think originated that legend. So exciting.
Cool. I remember Maddie was listening to this audiobook when we were painting my bookshelves, and I could hear through my headphones Maddie's cackling because she was enjoying the experience so much. So would you recommend The Lost Queen on audio?
Yes. Oh, the accents are so brilliant.
Says, yes.
It was so good. It was so good. The narrator just has that beautiful Highland accents.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Kristin has been chomping at the bit to talk to you about this episode's sponsor, BetterHelp.
Yes, I have been a happy BetterHelp client for 2 years, and it has been some of the most productive therapy experiences of my life.
Are you going to get into it, or?
I mean, a little bit. Basically, I met my spouse when we were teenagers, and obviously Maddie and I have known each other our whole lives. And as my life partner and my business partner, these two relationships mean the most to me. But honestly, they probably have the worst habits attached. After all, we learned to communicate and interact before we had even matured.
True.
And with kids, career changes, and aging, I just wanted to show up as my best self for the people that I love. My therapist has been pivotal for me and so practical. Together, we've created action and response plans. We've redesigned how I respond in certain situations. And I've been able to focus less on keeping the status quo and more on being honest and brave in my communication.
So if you want to try BetterHelp, you'll just click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/KristinMads and fill out a questionnaire. The questionnaire will match you with a therapist in as little as a few days, and you can easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost if it's not the right fit.
But I have found an amazing fit with my therapist. So I'm obviously in love with BetterHelp, but I'm not the only one.
Right, because with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Use our link to get 10% off your first month of therapy.
And we wish you all the best as you pursue healthy relationships with those that you love, but most importantly, with yourself. Now, both of us read our very first month with our Patreon family, where we read a book and then we watch an adaptation, whether it's a movie or a show. We did The Lost Kingdom, and this is going to be from late 800 to 900. And
Same area.
Yes, holy cow. I loved that.
Yeah. So this is The Last Kingdom, not to be confused with The Lost Queen. We're confusing our last and our lost, but there's The Lost Queen
Yes.
in 500 and then The Last Kingdom in 900. And whoa. So this is heavily steeped in Viking history.
Yeah.
And the main character is a man whose home is taken from him.
Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
Kristin's obsessed.
Uhtred. We love him.
So he's taken, this is like back jacket type information, but he's basically taken by a conquering faction, like by an enemy as a young man. So he grows up with the enemy. And so
the pagans.
Yeah. So his loyalty, it's so interesting now having read some of this historic fiction to kind of piece the history together. But you can fast forward, we're 400 years down the line from Lost Queen, and we're down more in England than up in Scotland. But they're still in this political strife between paganism and Christianity. And he is really torn because he was born one thing, he was raised another, his country is torn apart. And really at the end of the day, he just wants his lands back.
That's all he wants, this poor man.
His namesake, like he's raised with honor and he's raised with loyalty and brotherhood. But at the end of the day, he's just like, my loyalty is to myself and to my name and to my namesake. And so
it's interesting to watch because you see both sides basically trying to manipulate him and doing whatever they can to get his loyalty. And he just keeps trying to explain, like, you can't have me. I'm a human being.
Right.
And really, like, all I want is what I was born with, which is like the right to have the lands of my father.
Yeah.
And it's a really good adaptation as well. So if you do enjoy having those two things mirrored, it's just really, really cool to read a book that's written by somebody who writes it like a historic piece.
Yeah, I would say the screen adaptation, the show really enhanced the experience for me because I did find the book a little on the drier side. I think it's a compelling narrative. It's a great drama, great characters, and it's so well researched. I mean, so well researched down to like their garb, their jewelry, what they were eating. Like it's a very intimate historic piece, and it's trying to be very historically accurate, and I believe that it is. But Bernard Cornwell, I would just say, is not, for me, the most compelling of authors in terms of his storytelling, and so I found that the show really brought it to life for me.
Yeah, together it's like a 5-star experience for me, but I think just the book on its own maybe wouldn't hit the same, but a really fun time in history to learn about. And Uhtred, guys.
Uhtred.
If you know, you know. Like, you've got to go find out.
So then we fast forward almost 1,000 years.
Yeah, just a little hop and a skip to 1743 to about 1746. And of course, we're going to bring up Outlander. Okay,
Outlander.
we have to talk about it.
By Dan Gabaldon.
Oh, and what a great time.
Yes. Well,
Well, Diane.
yeah, Diane Gabaldon.
Oh, I thought you said Dan, and I said,
I'm so sorry.
What? Daniel.
I maybe mumbled a bit. Well, actually, Outlander is so fun because you begin the story in I want to say it's around 1940, and the main character, Claire, is a war nurse. Mm-hmm. I think in World War I, but it might have been World War II. I really can't remember.
It was World War II.
Okay. And you could be right. Yeah.
All I know is I don't really care about that timeline because
she goes back to 17.
It's a dual timeline. So she goes back
to 1743.
Yes. And
to the Highlands in Scotland.
Like, it is such a compelling story.
Oh my gosh.
So addictive. This love story is so rich, but also you get all of the historical beats of what was happening at that time. So she like leaves one war that just ended and she's dealing with like the repercussions of that. And then she's thrown into the Highlands where all the houses are like at war. And I do feel like if you want a long series, this can be a really long series. Me and Maddie did not read through to completion.
No.
But it also has a great adaptation. So if you really love the Scottish Highlands, if you just want to be there for the kilts and the atmosphere, the houses, I feel like it's an all-consuming obsession if you get into it.
I just want to give the trigger warning, though, that the end of that book is incredibly intense and involves essay. So if you are sensitive to that topic, I would definitely check your trigger warnings before you dive into the story.
And just skip it too. Like if you're like me, skip it.
Yeah, it was a really brutal ending to read to that book one. But I do love the story overall. I love the characters, and I also think that it was fascinating to explore that time in history and that part of the world from the lens of this beautiful romance.
Yeah. And you end up liking so many of the characters that you get to know.
Cool.
And there's lots of likable characters.
Okay, not that far later,
we have The Frozen River.
Who's this by?
And this is by Ariel Lawhon. This book came to me very recently. It was sent to me, and I think I didn't really know a lot about it going into it, but I was really happy to find out. So the main character is actually a midwife, and our mom was a doula a big portion of our childhood. So it was fun to see what it would look like back in about 1789 for a midwife, was also kind of like the town doctor. Basically, anybody had ailments, anybody was having health issues, they came to her, and she was very revered and respected, and there was a lot of honor in her position. And in this book, a death has taken place, and she is asked to see the body that has been found, and she says, it's not just like a death and an accident. This is giving murder, basically.
It's giving murder.
It's giving foul play. And a new doctor who is very young, like a medical doctor who went to university, a young little pup, has just come into town, and he's like, no, that's just an accident. It was not a murder, and you're not a medical professional. So he basically starts trash talking her and her name, and tries to turn this very tight-knit community against the person who has birthed all of their children, has helped them pass people, who have left this world. And it's very, very good if you want a tight story where you're really looking at a small group of people. It's really just the characters in the town. And then there's the midwife, who's actually like an older mother with grown children, and how her family supports her. Just very like emotionally, is emotional, but so interesting. I loved every minute of it.
Where does this story take place?
Oh, the best question. It's in Maine.
Okay. So we're over to the United States by now.
We're here. We've hopped over. Yeah, great story.
Hopped the ocean. Incredible. Okay. We're going to go forward in time just a bit. Probably still in the New England area. Mm-hmm. In 1800s, Kristin has to talk about the story Hester, which is a retelling of the Scarlet Letter.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes. But really fun twists. So in Hester, Our main character is actually coming over from Scotland with her new husband. She's very young, and there was a lot of poverty there at the time. So basically going to the States was a chance and an opportunity at a better life. So she's super ambitious and super excited. And as soon as she gets there, her husband's like, hey, I'm out. I'm going to go like work on some ships. So like, you're good, right? She is left completely alone. She has no way of making money. And the resourcefulness of this woman, I love that this is a very like, what do you do when you're in a bad situation? You get scrappy. So she's in this small town and she's making her way, but she does have some like family secrets and heritage that she's brought over that could be considered magical or witchy, which was a big no-no at the time. So husband's gone, just completely leaves her, and she falls in love with someone with the last name of Hawthorne, maybe Nathaniel Hawthorne. And obviously he's not down with magic. So I think what's really great about this story is you're getting an old classics tale, like a new spin on it, but also they're making it perfect for spooky season.
Oh, hey, girl.
So this is just one of those books that it makes you so angry, but also makes you so happy.
I still need to pick this one up. Kristin has been talking to me about this book for almost 2 years. And I'm like, every time she talks about it, I'm like, I need to read that immediately. But I kind of I want to reread The Scarlet Letter.
You should.
So anyways.
You should.
Okay.
So where are we going on the timeline?
Almost 100 years later, 1890s, we're going to talk about the plains in the United States. And we are going to talk about Sarah Plain and Tall by Patricia MacLachlan.
Hashtag childhood.
Wow, this is our childhood. But I really think this is a timeless story, and it's one of my favorite historic fictions. And until I read The Dust Bowl by Kristin Hannah, which doesn't even really take place in the prairies, I really didn't engage with that much literature or media around this period. Like everything I know about this is from Sarah Plain and Tall.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a time in American history where they've settled the prairies, but it is a tough life and it's so weather dependent for these farmers. And so this woman, Sarah, who's actually from Maine and has grown up on the ocean, answers an advertisement in the newspaper from a widower who has lost his wife, obviously, and has 2 children and lives on the prairies. And he is asking if anyone would be willing to come and be a mother to his 2 children. And he would,
you do,
like an arranged marriage. And he's not like asking for love or asking for like any of those kind of womanly favors. He just really wants a mother for his 2 children.
Well, he doesn't have daycare, obviously.
Right.
And there's things that a man can't teach kids. Back in that day, that was the belief.
He works from, all the daylight hours. You find out what a hard life they have. So she comes into the landlocked prairie to be a mother to these 2 children, and there's no water anywhere. And everything just kind of unfolds from there. But it's such a great and rich story about what life on the prairie was like at that time and how scarce the resources were and the grit of the families who like settled these areas and built communities from nothing and, survived these super intense weather patterns and seasons and the wild animals and how they just built lives here and really how much they fell in love with the land despite that it wasn't like a paradise. It was nothing like New England.
It was almost against them sometimes. It felt like the land was against them.
Right. But they just really like put their blood and their souls into this land and it's just such a beautiful story. It's such a beautiful story. And I love the screen adaptation with Glenn Close.
Oh my gosh.
Iconic role. But
the slow burn.
It is kind of just a beautiful slow burn.
And dealing with grief and loss. Sarah's a very ambitious girl when she leaves Maine and she's like, I'm an adventurer and I want to see new places. And it's just interesting to see like how that changes through the story.
Well, I think it's very interesting for a very independent, headstrong woman to come and become part of an intact family and not disrupt it. But she needs to disrupt it, but also she needs to be sensitive to it. So it's such a beautiful story.
It's so good. I'm like, time for a reread. Okay, I have not read this yet, but it is your favorite Kristin Hannah.
Yes, we are now into the 20th century. All the rest of our recs are from then on, and we actually just have 3 stories to talk about that kind of center World War II.
Yes.
So these are our favorite World War II fictions as of now. We have The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. And I love The Nightingale because it centers 2 sisters in France during the German occupation. And it shows how 2 women who are related, who are adults during this time and had the same upbringing and, grow up in the same community, how differently they respond to the German occupation and World War II, and how each of them suffers, how each of them is resistant in their own way, and how their relationship is strained by their own reactions to this war. And it is romantic. It is devastating. It is tragic. Absolutely check your trigger warnings. If there's one thing I will say about Kristin Hannah, it's that she really goes for the shock value moment. She really likes to go hard on the trauma. And there's plenty of fodder for that in anything dealing with World War II.
Yeah.
So there is going to be threat of essay. There's going to be torture. There's going to be death. There's going to be threats to children. Any of those things. It is a World War II novel. She's not pulling punches, so please check your trigger warnings. But it is an emotional story. It will make you cry. And it's very beloved for a reason. I think for most people, it's their favorite of hers.
Yeah, I think it has. Well, I have heard The Women is maybe giving her a run for giving that one a run for its money, but
I have not read that one yet.
Another screen adaptation book club that we did was All the Light We Cannot See.
Yeah, this is by Anthony Doerr, and I love his writing style. Wow. What a technically excellent, precise writer. He has such impeccable pacing.
What is so interesting about this story is you get a point of view from a little girl who is blind. She lives in France with her father. So you have her POV during World War II, but you also get the point of view of a young boy who is German and what it was like being raised there, and then what that turned into when he was old enough to fight. And I felt so emotional about the boy's story.
Definitely.
I felt so much empathy and just sadness. And I think it was eye-opening for me. So I love when a book can do that. It can just give me a completely new lens to see something like World War II that I feel like there's so many books and movies on, but a new perspective. But also, it's really, really artistic to read a book from this girl's perspective, where her father is, carving little houses and creating wooden maps of cities so that she can get around and be independent because she was not always blind.
Right.
And what it was like for her father to try to be an activist, but also he's trying to keep her safe. It's just one of those stories that's really... It has very sad moments, but also it can just feel really heartwarming, and it makes you believe in humanity and how people come together in hard times.
I will say, if The Nightingale feels like too much tone-wise, I feel like All the Light We Cannot See was way more subtle, and it absolutely tackled the terror to the everyman. And I think the fact that it gives the perspective of the children who are coming of age during this time in these war-torn countries is a beautiful perspective. I think the fact that it gives representation to a disabled person during this time is really special. And I just found it so subtle. I will say the screen adaptation is not subtle at all. It's about as subtle as a brick wall.
Not into it.
I did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was hyper dramatized, and it ruined all of the power of the restraint of the novel. And the novel does exercise restraint in such a way that you feel the tension and you feel the terror, and you are so sympathetic and empathetic, as Kristin said, with both characters and both sides, but you don't feel emotionally manipulated. You don't feel like any trauma or drama is being used for shock value. It's restrained and elegant. And so I think depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for maybe a more emotional feminist side of the story, maybe read The Nightingale. If you're looking for maybe more civilian focused lens to the war, maybe, and definitely to get the German perspective, potentially try All the Light We Cannot See. But
Such a good book.
They just have different tones, but I loved both.
Yeah, I'm like excited to put that book in the hands of a lot of people.
Yeah.
The next one is like at the tippity top of my TBR. Maddie talked to them about Pachinkol.
Pachinkol by Min Jin Lee is another book that I love, gives an even different view of World War II because it doesn't only center on World War II. It goes from before World War II until all the way up until I think like the late 1900s. But this is a story about a Korean woman after Japan occupies Korea. And so she marries a Japanese man and or perhaps he's Korean, I forget, but they end up in Japan and they end up raising children in Japan. And it is such a subtle, beautiful, gripping story about family, about identity, about a culture that's ripped away from you, and the impacts that this conflict was having on this completely other side of the world from the US was just, I was so ignorant about what was going on in the world at that time. I had no idea what was going on in Korea. So it was so enlightening and it was thematically strong. And I walked away from the story just feeling the preciousness of the human experience and the resilience of the family unit. And I think the book is largely just about the randomness of life and how we show up to it, not really knowing if we're going to win or lose, and probably knowing we're going to lose more than we win, but that there is magic in life. And so the book shows all of that. The book shows just the randomness, the horror, but also the magic of being alive. And I think it really centers on the idea of identity, and there's a national identity, but there's also an identity for yourself, and there's an identity within your family, and there's the family you choose versus the family you're raised with. And all of it is done really subtly and really beautifully, but if you're looking for it, it's all there and it will stick with you. I just think it's a kind of story that has a lot of lasting power. I will never be able to forget it.
Oh, don't you just love that? It's like the best kind of stories. I would say so far on this list, this is your favorite that we've talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is like a top for Maddie. So if you only take one rec from this, if you're looking for recs, you have actually been reading a lot of historic fiction, I feel like recently.
I know. I think it was all on my TBR wheel that we are going through. Yes.
Getting through our physical TBR by making like a little wheel randomizer. And every week we finish a book and then we click it and find a new book. Maddie had a lot of lit fic and historic fiction hanging out on those shelves. Needed to be read.
So far, I feel like the historic fic is actually hitting harder than the lit fic for me, but I'm enjoying both.
Yeah, kind of. So you have A Gentleman in Moscow.
Okay. Yep. The next 4 books we're going to talk about, they're definitely historic fictions, but they were really hard for us to pin down into a specific time because all 4 of these next books like cover a range of time. So we're just kind of trying to put them in as good a chronological order as we can. So I'm going to talk about A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles because it starts in the 1920s, but it actually spans like several decades. Yeah. But this is a story about a Russian man who was part of the aristocracy in Russia. And during this century, the Russian aristocracy got put down by the rise of communism in Russia. And so they were trying to do away with this like upper crust elite class and their wealth. And so literally for the crime of having been an aristocrat, this man is put under house arrest in a hotel in Moscow where he lives for decades. And the story is about nationalism, national identity, and Russia as a whole, but it's really about man's purpose outside of his identity, whether it be as an aristocrat or as a Russian or whatever. It's about taking the tools and the skills and the identity that you have and creating life's purpose when all of that is stripped away from you. And so it's a man's search for meaning, really. And it's really tender. It's a little bit funny. It's so atmospheric because it all takes place in this intimate setting in this hotel. It has some found family elements to it. And then the plot really thickens right at the end. So it's kind of this like plodding little pace until you get to the end and you're like, whoa, here we go.
For real?
Yeah. So it was just great fun. And I keep telling people the thing that stuck out to me the most about it was his aristocratic arts, because I feel like they're lost arts, like the art of food and the art of communication and the art of language and the art of reading so many things so that you could have interesting things to talk about with all different kinds of people, and the art of dress and the art of your space. And I don't know, he has all of these arts that seem to be just like totally archaic and useless once he's no longer an aristocrat, but it was such a delightfully sensory part of the book to read about the things he's good at.
I almost feel like today, if we were to revive any of these old, I don't know, traditions or hobbies or habits that we used to have, I would be so here for it. I think they call it grandma core.
Grandma core.
Okay. But it's not really just for grandmas. It's just like people who learned it and we never learned it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm ready. I'm ready for my lessons.
Yes.
Okay. So A Gentleman in Moscow.
Yeah. That story begins 1920s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Calling Me Home, which is 1930s to 2013, because this is going to be one of those stories where like it's someone's lifetime. And this is written by Julie Kibler. In Calling Me Home, it is the story of a young girl, and she lives in a very well-off family home, and her family has all the things they could ever want. But one of their servants, because this is during slavery time, or where you were still having servants take care of you when you had the money. I'm sure not everybody had servants. She falls for and basically creates a very strong bond to a Black worker on her father's land, which is a big no-no. And the story follows this relationship through time. But in 2013, your main character is now an 89-year-old woman, and she is asking her bestie, a Black woman, to drive her to a funeral. And you don't know whose funeral it is. It's one of those stories where...
Jeez, I'm already emotional.
When it's like passionate, it is like some of the best passion I have ever read between two lovers. Talk about a forbidden love.
Oh my God.
But also sometimes just so heartbreaking of what it meant to be in a world where you weren't allowed to have the love and the life that you wanted. It literally didn't exist. It's not safe, cannot do it. And like, I guess that book made me feel those feelings so powerfully. And when the book ended, I just remember feeling very, I don't know, like this is an important lesson to learn of, what are you taking for granted? That was just not always available to people, and how hard did people used to fight for what they wanted. It's a beautiful story. It's great for people if you loved like The Help.
That's what I was just going to ask. I was like, it's kind of feeling like The Help, but The Help was like the 1950s, whereas this.
But you get all those times. So it starts in 1930s, but it really does. The story evolves through. Obviously, they start as young children that are just like best friends, and there's maybe something there, and then obviously into middle age.
He was the help for their family.
Yes.
And her best friend was also the help for their family?
Well, later in life, at the age of 89, when the world is very different in 2013.
Her best friend.
It just kind of shows full circle what happened in the span of that woman's life as far as being able to have relationships that are interracial.
That's so powerful. I feel emotional just hearing about it.
Yeah. Oh, the cover is beautiful. I just really loved it. And I'm definitely due for a reread. I'm sorry I didn't have a lot to give about it, but also I don't want to give spoilers on accident. But I read this probably 5 years ago with my in-person book club, and it has stuck with me the whole time. It's a really beautiful story. So we have then another one that I read with my book club. I love book clubs when everybody picks a book each month, because there's so many things outside of my genres, my normal genres that I read. And The Vanishing Half, which I'm sure all of you guys have read. This is a very popular book and has been for a long time.
I have not read it, so tell me all about it.
Okay, so this is by Brit Bennett. It is also a sister story.
Oh, hey.
So in, let's see here, the 1940s to present. Okay, so again, this is like their whole lives.
Okay. Is it in the United States?
It is in the United States.
Okay.
It starts with two girls that run away. They're sisters who run away at 16. And at some point, they decide to go different ways. And one of them decides to pass as a white woman, and one of them decides to stay with her upbringing and be a Black woman in America.
But they are of mixed race.
Yes, but they are able to basically pass either way,
okay,
because of the tone of their skin. So it is very interesting to see both of their lives. You kind of follow both trails being very separate, and then there's a coming together, and it is absolutely fascinating.
Wow.
The way they treat each other, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk about their childhood. And so the sister who decides to pass as a white woman, which was very dangerous, but also just weird, right? Because like, who decides?
Right.
She marries a white man who believes that she is just a white woman. And that's very dangerous for her.
Because he does not know. Like, he truly does not know.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right. So, and just kind of emotionally, like the happiness levels of two people, somebody trying to feels like she's being different than she was the first 16 years of her life and the years with her sister. You know, she's really just decided, I will have a whole new identity, and what that did to her psyche and how that has helped her basically survive in a white community. And then what it was like for her sister, who stuck to what she knew the first 16 years of her life and held on to that identity. It's a very fascinating study.
Wow. Were you emotional?
I think because they're sisters, yes. I don't know if everybody maybe would, but I think it's very difficult when you have close sister relationships to imagine like somebody being like, actually, I'm just peace out. Like, I don't want this life, which is also kind of not wanting you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So The Vanishing Half, I'm so shocked that you actually haven't read that yet.
I know.
It's still on like bestseller lists, and
I love that some of these books, it seems like, are dealing with similar themes and that they span. It is so fascinating how much changed in just 100 years. And our last book is similar. So The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid follows another trajectory from the past to the present, where a character deals with identity in the 1940s was that she has to hide, that she would not have to hide in present day. But through the course of her life, a lot of the stigma around it changes. Mm-hmm. But The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is kind of about like a Marilyn Monroe type figure. She's a very famous actress in Hollywood in the 1940s. And she's always in the tabloids because of her many failed relationships. But you meet her in the present as an old woman, and she is finally willing to like stop being cagey and tell her story to the reporter. Yeah. And so you're finding out with the reporter what actually happened behind all of those tabloids. And it's just like fascinating. It's so juicy. It feels so gossipy, but it's also has so much heart. It's so tender. And also it's just a very fun story to immerse yourself in because of the historic fiction aspect of it, because you're seeing it through the lens of this like famous affluent person.
Yeah, it's old Hollywood.
Yeah. So it's the music and the cars and the fashion and the cigarettes and the drinks, and it's just really fun.
And what you do for the paparazzi and what is actually the truth behind the door.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really beautiful, and I am definitely due for a reread. I love that book. I don't know that it's for everyone, but I think if that time period is fun for you. Kristin and I love old Hollywood. Like, we were raised on Humphrey Bogart and, you know, old Gene Hollywood Kelly and musicals.
Was our Hollywood. Yeah. Like, we didn't really know present day Hollywood until we were in our teen years.
Right. Because we were raised on old Hollywood. So it's just fun to go back and have a story in that setting, but then to explore these themes of, again, it's just so interesting how much changed culturally in a century. So interesting.
And Taylor Jenkins Reid does this in all of her books, but she kind of like just creates a place that you, after reading her books, feel like, I know everything about that time period. Yeah. She spends a lot of time talking about clothing and the music and the cars and the movies that are playing. And like, she kind of creates such a set for you that when you're done, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a pro. Like, I know everything about old Hollywood. Like, it's fiction, Kristin. But I feel like she writes a good book, and I think this is one of her best.
I do too. I think it's one of her best.
So awesome.
Okay, we have two more, and these are, this is as close to the present as we get for a historic fiction rec list, and this is the late 1950s, I guess, to early 1960s. So, Kristin, you want to talk about The Outsiders?
Yes, The Outsiders, which is like literally one of the famous books ever. So Maddie has to read it.
I can't believe I haven't read it, honestly. I saw the stage show in college, so I know the story.
But it's on Broadway. This is the first year it's on Broadway, and it's going to be traveling. So I really want to go. I'm interested to see how they do that. Obviously, iconic movie as well. So read, watch. It's iconic. So The Outsiders is about a band of boys in poverty. They're called the Greasers. They're from the bad side of town.
Wait, where does this take place?
So The Outsiders is in Oklahoma, and it's just a bunch of boys that basically are bored and just trying to make trouble. I mean, they just are. But our main 3 characters are brothers. So cute. Their parents have passed in a car accident. So the eldest brother, who's literally like, I think he's 18, maybe 19. He is like the head of the household. So the house is falling to tatters. It was already like they didn't have a lot of money before, but then it's all their friends and they run over to the house and they just run amok together, and they're kind of like a gang, because you got to have a gang when you live in this area to basically have people watch your back and keep you safe. And this book is about the relationships between these 3 brothers and their best friends, who are basically extended brothers, and you get a backstory and you get to know the families of all the boys, and some are really sad and some are just fine, but a murder takes place that kind of flips everything. It's kind of like, if you like West Side Story, it's going to feel like that. Tore my heart out. Absolutely made me sob.
I completely forgot there was a murder. Like, totally forgot that.
Yeah. And there's deaths, and it's emotionally gripping because friendship is so beautiful when it's all you have. Like, they don't have anything except for their friends. They don't have any material things. They don't have a future to look forward to. That is what they have.
Is it an upper?
I think it's very redeeming, and I want to get a Stay Gold Pony Boy so bad tattoo.
Really?
Heck yeah.
I love this for you.
I want to get it with my daughter because we buddy read it.
Stay Gold Pony Boy.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's Stay Golden. Stay Gold. Stay Gold Pony Boy.
Wow.
But this is going to be like, it's a short read, and it's one of those ones where, yes, it's very emotional, but also if you love Grease, you just want the time period. If you like West Side Story, if you like a little rival gang, even if you like Goonies and you just like all the silly misfit boys.
I love that movie.
It gives that too. Like,
Okay.
it's definitely funny, and they shoot the shit, and
I think the Goonies takes place in the 80s.
but it's kind of like them being a crew, and the parents like, where are the parents? And they're just like running amok doing whatever they want. Yeah. Everybody's on bikes. Like, it's just crazy.
Love it.
Yeah. So that's The Outsiders. And then
last but not least, we have Stephen King's 11/22/63, which is about the Kennedy assassination attempt and success in 1963.
So it's like about that, but it's like not about that.
Oh, right. It's about so much more, but it centers a main character in 2012, I believe. So like present day. He's a teacher. He's a divorcee. He is like quote unquote nothing to live for, right? And the man at the diner is like, come here real quick. And shows
Look over here.
Shows him the stock room, and apparently it's a time travel portal. And so
it's just a little wormhole.
Yeah. So he is traveling back in time actually to try to prevent the assassination of JFK, because the theory is that if you could change something super pivotal that happened in history, it would have these ripple effects that would improve everything. And so the main thing they're trying to prevent actually is the Vietnam War. And they feel like they can prevent that if they prevent Kennedy's assassination. So he travels back in time to the late 50s and starts laying the groundwork and doing the reconnaissance to figure out how he can thwart the Kennedy assassination. And it is so gripping. It is so fast paced. It has a little bit of horror in it. There's a little...
Not mad about it.
There were disturbing elements, but actually the biggest shock of 11/22/63 is that it's romantic.
It was low-key so romantic.
But if you are reading for the romance, do not do the audiobook.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't obsessed with the female or the narration situation. But what's crazy is Maddie's saying, it's about the JFK assassination, which is what we all think when we pick up this chunker. But I would say there's like 3 books in one, and that's like one of the 3 books. Yeah. Because when you go back in time, obviously you might get derailed with some other like side quests, but the side quests were like main quests. It was such a surprise.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the whole first third is kind of one
Derry
side quest in Derry, and then the middle third is the romance in Texas, and then really the back third is the Kennedy assassination.
I cried at the end. There's just something
It's a really good book. And I don't know what I was expecting when I picked up a Stephen King book for the first time, but it was a banger. And now I'm kind of scared to pick up another one, which is stupid. But I'm like, what if they're not as good?
Well, I'll just read all of them and let you know which ones to read. Because it started my obsession.
King, new bestie unlocked. So that was our 17 historic fiction recs all the way from 70 AD to 1950. We hope you found something to pique your interest and something that you'll want to pick up. Definitely let us know which one you added to your TBR in the comments, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.